Hey, welcome. Glad you're here. My name's Darlene the artist, and today I am going to show you how to make any very stained or not so good looking lampshade into something fabulous. I love this. It probably seems like I'm doing a lot of owls and I'm obsessed with owls. I they're just coming up right now. And this piece is just, I think, so nice. And it has kind of a dark academia, but also very Victorian and kind of bougie. So I found this lamp at the Goodwill, and it had these really cool little kind of rams on them. And I will say though that because I painted so much on this shade, it doesn't give off a lot of light, but it'd be a great moody lamp or nightlight to turn on. It's just really a statement piece. The trim I got on Amazon, and I'll put the things that I used so that you could find them, decoupage papers, stencils. Some are just roses and such that I cut out of books or printed off just the internet. So anyways, I'm just so pleased with how this turned out, and I love it so much. So if you find a lamp that it seems like it just is going to go to the trash, you really have a lot of choices that you can do with it and bring it back to life in a really cool way. So check it out. This is the lampshade that I found also at Goodwill. It's pretty, it's got some stains and it's not great. It's fabric. It has a liner on the inside, and I like the shape of it. So I went ahead and got this home decor chalk paint folk art from, I think it was from Michael's craft store. I'll link that down below. And I found this to be a pretty decent chalk paint, really, for the price. It works pretty well. Sorry that you had to watch me struggle to open that. I tried to cut that out, but didn't get it. And I'm going to paint the whole exterior with this chalk paint, and I do a couple of coats, and I was hoping that it wouldn't sink in to the interior, but it did. So I will go ahead and paint the interior also, and I painted that with kind of a coppery paint, shiny paint that I thought looked pretty good. That paint though was I think a folk art craft paint, and the pigment was fairly thin, so I did have to do like almost 4 coats in there. So if you're not into doing that many coats, I would probably suggest buying a higher quality metallic paint so you're not suffering painting so many layers on the inside of it. It does drive me crazy. I'm like, I get a couple layers on there and I want to call it good, and it's like, nope, I still am seeing through it. So that's that. And the chalk paint does, need a little bit of water to kind of get it moving as well. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I probably had like a little thing of water here, because every time I stop, I got to put my brushes in water because the acrylic paint dries so quickly. You can easily ruin your brushes so quickly. here I've laid out all my craft paints, and I did use craft paints on this, and they worked pretty well over the top of the chalk paint. But these type of paints are not very highly pigmented, so sometimes the colors you have to put several several coats on, but you'll kind of have to see where you're at with it. I am now suggesting these other chalk paints that I got on Amazon that are a really good price, and they work really well. They're nice and thickly pigmented. So those are down in the notes for you as well. I was using the Eileen's matte decoupage paste, and I really liked it a lot. It just had a nice coating and it was easy to use. So here I'm just kind of messing around and trying to figure out where I want to put these pieces on here, where I think it looks best to balance out that side. Because I'm going to be doing some stenciling over the top of this, and I'll also be adding some more color to the backgrounds and the edges of these collage pieces to blend them in with the background a little bit more. Actually, I'm showing you here how I paint the background in a little bit on some of the decoupage papers so that it seems like it blends a little bit more seamlessly than, having the square just sort of stuck on there. So I'll add some reds and then browns and different colors to kind of help blend that edge a little bit. Now I'm getting out my stencils, and it's pretty hard for me to do it at this angle actually. And the mistake I'm making here is that I did not blot off my stencil brush enough, and there's really too much paint on there. And so that is not going to make a very clear stencil. So you'll see that when I pull it away. So I did have to go over these stencils with a paintbrush and hand paint, which, you know, it's not a bad thing, but it's just not as sharp of a stencil as what I would normally like to see. And I was okay with having that darker background as I looked at it. But the other thing too is that when you're using craft paints, they are not going to be very well pigmented to make a really nice dark stencil. And so I would also suggest on using the chalk paints instead of like craft paints for stenciling, especially when you've got, like, if you're going over a darker color. I think these reds were close enough, but I still think I was unimpressed by the saturation of the color on these, and I went back in and hand painted these as well. Turn this to the side so that you can see it's a little easier to go from the top down on these. These stencils, you know, after playing around with them and wiping more, you know, not using quite as much paint, turned out a little bit better. And the bottom stencil turned out really good. I think that one too, I had used chalk paint on that one. But I mean, you'd have a little bit of a bumpy surface to work on here. So I mean, it's not going to probably be perfect, but it's pretty good. You know, I like the way that it turned out. You just kind of have to be patient and sort of rub and, hold it at different angles and kind of get it on there. Here, I've taken the pre-made trim that I got on Amazon and I've pinned it to the top so I know exactly how much I need. And I'll usually fold the little end over and hot glue gun that, and then stick that down, and then I'll run a nice trail of hot glue all along the inside of it as I'm going around. And hot glue works great for this. I mean, it's not going to go anywhere. It doesn't really drip or run. It grabs it, the fabric right away. So it's like a low frustration sort of glue job. And you can watch me doing that here. I just go around afterwards with scissors and, make sure all the little glue tails that flow out are off, and any extra threads that I don't like are cut off. And then just fold the end over, glue it, and then glue it down. I usually try to glue it down in a spot where there's already a seam so that it sort of blends in, like, looks like it's meant to be that way. I did use the Eileen's matte sealer, which is also a decoupage glue over the whole top of it. I didn't put it on the fabric trim or anything like that, but I did put it on the whole thing, and that I think really gave it a nice finish and will help, with any scratching or chipping or anything like that. And I will also put this over the top of where I painted the base. I just thought that base was a little bit too plain, and so I thought I would bring the red down. So I put some gesso down there. You can see the white on the base of it. That's just to give it kind of a base coat that was lighter so that the colors would be brighter instead of painting onto the brown, because that brown would really mute the colors. And so putting a little coat of gesso on it and just make it a lot easier to paint on. finished piece. Looking so good. I took it over to my friend's antique booth in Richardson. It's called the Cottonwood Antique Mall, and her booth is called the Skeleton Key. She has a lot of really cool vintage items that she creates, as well as lots of kind of dark academia and goth types of things for your home. So go check that out for sure if you're in Texas. That's the Skeleton Key at the Cottonwood Antique Mall. Love it. Thank you guys so much for watching and being here, and I can't wait for you to create something that you love just as much. Enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one.